Finally, Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet.
Bing bang!
The Packers agreed to send Rodgers and their first-round pick at the draft, number 15 overall, and a 2023 fifth to the Jets for the Jets' first-round pick, which is 13th overall, a 2023 second, 2023 sixth, and a conditional 2024 second. Now, that is the big pick. That conditional pick actually turns into a first-rounder if Rodgers plays 65% of the Jets' snaps this upcoming season. So I'd expect that to be the case, and let's be real here, if he doesn't, then the Jets have made a huge mistake. I actually think it's pretty fair compensation when you kind of break it down. Aaron Rodgers has made it very clear that he does not want to play for Green Bay anymore, and he would retire if he needed to. Essentially, the Packers got draft compensation back for a guy that was never going to play for them again. Now, Aaron Rodgers is going to look very, very different next season, and not just because of the Jets green, but he will no longer be wearing number 12. Joe Namath did give him his blessing to wear 12 if he wanted, but Rodgers is instead going to wear number 8, the same number he wore at Cal. That's really gonna be an adjustment, but for Rodgers, this is kind of like a full fresh start. The final trade came 40 days after Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show and said that he did intend to play for the Jets in 2023, and it was a very, very long wait. Everyone expected this one to eventually come. For the last 2 years, one of the biggest stories of each offseason has been Rodgers' future in Green Bay. But the speculation, it's finally over. He and the Packers seemed to finally just hit that breaking point. The Jets and Packers, they've been talking for weeks, and eventually those talks did break down, but they heated back up recently, and now Rodgers is a Jet. Brian Gutekunst kind of lost all of the leverage. At first, the Packers had really no good reason to have to send Aaron Rodgers out at the time, but as the draft started inching closer, if the Packers wanted draft compensation for this year, it had to happen now, and that's probably why it did. Now, Green Bay gets extra picks and gets to move up 2 spots, even though that doesn't sound like much at all. You really just have to pour one out for the Patriots, who just got randomly jumped by the Packers. Now, of course, this isn't the first time the Jets have traded for an aging Packers quarterback. Brett Favre was a Packers legend. He led them to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them. He won 3 straight MVPs in Green Bay and was all around one of the best quarterbacks in the game and ultimately one of the greatest all time. Well, Green Bay drafted a guy, Aaron Rodgers, in the first round and wanted him to eventually take over. That led to the Packers trading away Favre to the Jets in exchange for just a conditional 4th round pick. Now that situation was very different because Favre actually did retire and then decide to return, but by the time he got back, it was supposed to be Aaron Rodgers' team. He got sent to the Jets and he dealt with injuries and he planned on retiring, but then instead he signed with the Vikings and made an NFC championship. It didn't exactly work out for the Jets, but Favre did still have some magic, and without that injury, the Jets probably would have been pretty good. But how will things fare for Aaron Rodgers? The Packers drafted Jordan Love, and it's clear he's the future moving forward. Rodgers was great in Green Bay. He won 4 MVPs and won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. He has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league for years, and when he hangs him up, he'll be one of the greatest of all time. But can he have that extra success in New York? Well, a lot of that is going to depend on the pieces around him. The Jets have been in a bit of a quarterback hell for a long time. They drafted Zach Wilson at the 2021 draft, 2nd overall, and it's safe to say he didn't exactly work out. Wilson has been terrible, and things were really bad last season when he was on the field and when a backup was in for him. The Jets needed to do something. After all, it's been 12 years since they last made the postseason. Now, Zach Wilson gets to be the backup to a Hall of Famer and maybe even learn. everyone knows how good Aaron Rodgers is. I know he's coming off of a down year, but I think there is a lot of blame that can go on the lack of weapons and lack of experience of those guys. Now he steps into a Jets team that is very good. New York is ready to win, and they've already gone out and signed Allen Lazard, who was one of Rodgers' wide receivers in Green Bay. He's coming off of a nearly 800-yard season, and now he gets to stick around with Rodgers. But I think he'll probably be that number 3 guy. Garrett Wilson is the clear number 1. He was only a rookie last year, but he was phenomenal. Wilson had 1,100 yards and ended up showing a lot of promise for the future. He's already proven to be capable of taking over that top role. The 2 is likely Corey Davis, who had 500 yards last season. Now, he's an older 5th overall pick that hasn't even had a 1,000-yard season in his 6-year career, which isn't good, but he is solid. They also signed Mecole Hardman this offseason, which will certainly be a big help to special teams, but he might also be the 4th wideout. I have to imagine Tyler Conklin will be the top tight end. He had over 500 yards last season. Running back is going to be interesting to watch because Breece Hall was so good for a rookie back, but ultimately he tore his ACL. His return will be big because he's good, but also because the Jets' offensive line is trash. At least it was last year. They allowed 192 pressures on 689 snaps, the 7th most in the league, while 11 different linemen played at least 61 snaps. It was miserable, but injuries were a big cause of that. Mekhi Becton got hurt before the season, and Elijah Vera Tucker only played in 7 games. It was ugly, but even just getting healthier should make the line a lot better because the Jets were nearly a top 10 unit in 2021. The offense clearly does have solid weapons and a lot of reasons to be optimistic, but if the Jets are all of a sudden really good next season, it won't just be because of the offense. Yes, Aaron Rodgers will have a huge role, but the defense is probably going to be bigger. Robert Saleh was a defensive mastermind for the 49ers, and since being the Jets head coach, he's turned their defense into a very elite unit. The biggest change a season ago was just the improvement of cornerback play, and that came mainly from Sauce Gardner. He was advertised as an elite shutdown guy, and as a rookie, he immediately lived up to those expectations and was even an all-pro. On the other side of him, DJ Reed was shutting down number 2 guys. The Jets signed Chuck Clark this offseason, who is going to be huge at the safety spot. Go Hokies. CJ Mosley is there to anchor that linebacker unit, and a lot can be said about Quinnen Williams. He's really finally living up to what the Jets had hoped he could turn into when they took him 3rd overall, and he's the staple on the defensive line now. The Jets are really good. It will probably be an uphill battle in the AFC East to actually unseat the Bills at the top. They have good pieces, and Josh Allen is a dog, but look out for the Jets. They have a better defense, and if Aaron Rodgers can turn that offense into an elite unit, the Jets may actually be better than the Bills next year. The Dolphins are interesting, and they have a lot of good talent, but I would lean Jets and Bills over the Dolphins just because Tua Tagovailoa is not in the same conversation as Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen. Tua is good, but he's not elite. Finally, the Patriots are really in the basement of the AFC East. They have the worst roster and the worst quarterback, and that's quite the change of pace. The NFL is always changing, and that's why the Patriots have gone from the best of the best to the worst in the division. And now the Jets are going to have a chance to take years of disappointment and make something out of it because Aaron Rodgers is that good. If Rodgers can be the same guy that won back-to-back MVPs, and take in mind that he did that with Nathaniel Hackett as his offensive coordinator in Green Bay, and guess who is now the Jets offensive coordinator? Well, with Nathaniel Hackett back, with Aaron Rodgers, the Jets could be a serious Super Bowl contender.